Hello, my name is Sam Feltham and welcome to Expert Interviews here on Smash the Fat. And with me today are two people who have well and truly smashed the fat in the past kind of 18 months, 2 years. As a couple together, they've lost 250 pounds. That's 114 kilograms. Absolutely amazing story. It's Telaine Feeney and Derek Smith of Low Carb Island, all the way on the eastern coast of Australia. How you doing, guys?
How you doing, Sam?
Hey, everyone.
We're great.
Excellent.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Not a problem, not a problem. It's fantastic to have you here because I was recently on your podcast, which hasn't gone out quite yet.
2 weeks.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks' time, and I had a fantastic time on there, and then kind of, looked more into kind of what you guys are doing, and you are running obviously the podcast Low Carb Island, but the blog and website came first, which is lowcarb.island.com, and also it's just seemed to have kind of taken off for you guys in terms of, because you've shot up to #1 in Australia for the podcast, or like in the top of the charts, and it's absolutely incredible. But the reason is because of this amazing transformation story that you've had of losing 250 pounds, 115 kilos, let's say, over the past couple of years of following a low carb, high fat lifestyle. Now, how exactly did this all start for you guys?
So, end of 2013, I was around 143 kilos, was the heaviest I ever weighed in, but I suspect I was actually a little bit more than that even. And I started looking into different methods of weight loss. Again, I've done a lot of diets over the years, and lost some weight until the willpower gives out, and then you bounce back to the weight you were with a bit of interest normally. So I started looking into a lot of different methods of weight loss, and the few that stood out, the 5-2 diet sort of made a bit of sense to me. Intermittent fasting, things like that, but low carb, high fat really made sense. And the more I looked into the science of it, the more I realized that the whole paradigm of current nutrition is just screwy, and what we're being taught just doesn't make sense. So 30th of December 2013, I decided I'm starting low carb, high fat eating. I was convinced it was going to work, so I took my before photos, started the blog, and away we went. And the weight just began to drop so quickly for me. A lot of people don't experience that weight loss immediately. There's some healing with some people after years of bad habits. For me, I was lucky and had that success immediately, and that just spurred me on. Telaine was a little bit skeptical at first.
Yes. I was the person saying, you're going to have a heart attack. This is really bad for you. That is disgusting. And I'd sit there with my porridge and my skim milk and my fruit, and then eat again in 2 hours, and then again in 2 hours, and again in 2 hours. And I did that 3 months. I started in March last year. I didn't start on purpose. I had been stubborn and held out. Didn't support Derek with his journey at all. And then I was spending a lot of money on takeaway, and my weight, my diabetes, my mental health was all still crazy. No pun intended. And then one day Derek just mentioned about the costs of the takeaway and was like, can you just try a couple of boiled eggs? Yeah, that added up mighty quick. If we do that budget now, when people say this is expensive, work out how much money you spend on takeaway, and it doesn't compare. And so I started with a boiled egg. One day I teach horse riding, so I was always really active even though I was big. And Derek just said, well, what if you just take 2 boiled eggs in the car on your way out to the horses? And then I realized I got home, got my boys their dinner, my 2 sons, and I wasn't hungry. It was 7:30. And that not being hungry meant that I then went, oh, okay, so I had some chicken and grilled it and added butter and had some spinach leaves. And it started like that. I never intentionally begun. I didn't really know where I started. Everyone always wants this big, miraculous moment. What was your turning point? I didn't have one. When you get to as big as I was, there's no real moment of change that really hits you. You're past seeing yourself honestly, and you go into denial. So it started with a couple of boiled eggs, and then I've had ups and downs on my journey, but mainly ups, and the downs when you eat this way physically put you off doing it again.
If you have a cheat day,
you bounce straight back up.
The reward's not there. You don't feel good after it, and you realise there's so many things. It's not just the weight loss. There's so many things that I had wrong with me that I didn't even know I had wrong with me until they got better. You know, fatigue and lack of concentration and things like that. And I used to say, oh, I guess it's just part of getting older.
Yeah, he was grumpy.
Forgetting things. And then eating this way, the cognitive awareness, the refreshing sleep, all of it is just phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's where we started. We started at different times, and we did different journeys. Derek worked away, so everyone's sort of like, you're lucky you did this together, but Derek's only been living back permanently, not working away since the end of last year. So we actually had very separate journeys. We eat different. I still eat a lot of salad. Derek's not a big salad boy.
Not so much salad.
So we eat differently with low carb, high fat, and I think that's where it's sort of he's not a salad. But the
principles. See, neither of us will count.
No, never counted
macronutrients or weighing things out or setting up a plan. We eat when we're hungry. We stop when we're full, and we're aware of what foods we should eat, what foods we shouldn't eat, and we keep it that simple. We just eat real foods, getting our carbohydrates from mostly vegetables, especially leafy greens, minimal fruit, and yeah, it's that simple. And
we've learned different ways. Like Derek, if I was to eat the way Derek eats, low carb, high fat, I am aware now that I won't lose with that, and that it doesn't work for me. Being insulin resistant, I can't have the amounts of, say, carbohydrates Derek has.
Yeah, I can add a bit more protein, or I can perhaps have a baked potato once a week or so.
Yeah, learning along your journey and working out what works for you. And that's why I'm not a big fan of the counting aspect, because you're not going to learn. I've had times when I've gained over the last 12 months, and I've once a week do my measurements or do things like that. Not so much now. Pregnancy's impacted that. But sure. I did that and I learned. Those times I gained, those times when I stalled, and I've learned what's done it. So that's the reason I don't really advocate for counting. It's going to mean your journey might be a bit slower.
But it makes you more aware, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what this is all about. It's almost an awakening of how your body functions, and it's all about trying to find out how your body reacts to different foods. And as you kind of said there, you're ever so slightly on different LCHF lifestyles almost, but the principles are all the same. Yes. But then you can find out what personally kind of affects you the most, and how you can adapt it to you. So one thing that you're kind of mentioning there, Telaine, is your diabetes and your insulin resistance. And amazingly, in this amazing story, you've actually been able to come off of your diabetes medication as well.
Yes, I on my blog you'll see stories about it. I wasn't just diabetic; I was chronic, if that's the term. I was in hospital over 2-year periods numerous times. My levels were actually unregisterable. They were over 33, which is as high as the machine would go. And that was while I was on insulin and metformin.
On Bayetta, metformin, and another plethora insulin of other experimental.
Yeah, just constantly, and I was constantly over 33. So I was on drips to try and keep my fluids going, the swelling, the weight gain. I lost 2 years of my life with it. So I didn't start low carb, high fat for diabetes. As I said, I didn't really look into it. I was lucky. That's one of the best benefits. So when I started it in March, within a month, my averages started to drop. But then you have to be careful of hypo, because you don't realize you've got to then drop your insulin and stuff as your body starts to adapt to fat burning. You don't need that medication. And it got to a point after a few months I wasn't on any medication.
Working with the doctors.
Working with the doctors. You have to stay with your GPs with that stuff. And I get regular blood tests. So I'm on no medication, and my average at the last time, so my last 3-month period, was 4.1, which you can't get better without any medication. And I spent 2 years being, my average over 2 years with medication was 30, which is insane. I was told I didn't have long to live with that. And all my other systems started to shut down. So my liver, everything, and the medications would go higher.
Yeah.
It was insane. Yeah, I've got all, and I'm so lucky we documented that over the time, just because that's what kind of people we are, for no medical reason. Just Derek would take photos of my glucose reader. There's photos of me in the hospital, and it was, I look back now and I just accepted that. I didn't realize there was other options. I never really thought, there's preventative. I just knew there was management.
And not even extreme options, just better nutrition.
Yeah, it's insane to me still. Sometimes it's just gobsmacking. Like when people want to come and approach me and ask me the story, I'm still shocked. Like to me, that was just my life. I lived it and didn't ever think there would be another option. And it's been amazing. So I went off all that medication within a few months. Now with the pregnancy, being an insulin-resistant person already, pregnancy actually causes you to be insulin resistant naturally. So my body's gone a bit haywire, and it's so funny because the doctors will say, your levels are 7. Yeah, it's just, it messes up.
Yeah, so the levels have been going up, occasionally 6.1,
yeah,
6.8.
Which is still fine. It's
which
just
is
high
amazing
for me.
compared to what it was, but it's high for Telaine. So again, it's the awareness of that and working with our health professional. But
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the benefits for diabetes with this lifestyle are mind-blowing. And I'm far from the only story. All you hear, there's type 1 diabetics, where there's a doctor, Troy Stapleton, who does a lot of talks on it as well. He's a diabetic type 1, and he follows this lifestyle. He's obviously still with his insulin, but diabetes all round, it's phenomenal.
It stops the spikes. It makes it a lot more manageable with a lot less pharmaceutical intervention.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because what did your doctors say kind of in response to this? Because obviously they were medicating you with all the traditional approaches in terms of metformin and things like that, but then you start to go on a low carb diet and then your blood sugar comes right down and stabilizes. So what was their reaction?
Tell me what you're doing. That's their reaction. Their reaction was, write down exactly what you're doing so I can tell the other patients. Which they were mind-blown. They just couldn't comprehend it. And even now, if I see different GPs, they will say, okay, they'll go look over my history, and they're just gobsmacked because my averages over the last 2 years, to see it drop so dramatically. So GPs have asked us for advice. Once again, the pregnancy, it's a high-risk pregnancy, so I have a lot of specialists. I have a big team around me because I have other health issues, and they're even mind-blown. So I have a liver specialist who is gobsmacked because it's not just impacted my diabetes, my liver count. So your red and white counts. At one point, I was getting ready, the transplant list for your liver. So you get tumours on your liver, so forth. Yeah. One point, my liver count was 490, which is insane. So that was at the time when they were like, there's nothing we can really do for you.
Yeah.
Derek and I sort of come to terms with that.
And also at Telaine's weight at the time, one of the experts we saw said, you're not even eligible for a transplant because you're killing yourself
anyway. I was 169 kilos. So,
but the food Telaine was eating, obviously, she said there was takeout, but a lot of it, she was thinking she was eating healthy with fruits and whole grains and all that, which
it just impacted it. But now with low carb, high fat, it's another thing that I didn't think would have any impact. Actually, had the doctors when I first was starting saying, "Great with the diabetes, but this is going to really impact your liver." I got that quite a lot. My count with pregnancy, which has also impacted, my count has gone up, but my last count was 90, which is a high count compared to 490, where they were like, that's it, there's nothing we can do. The doctors are blown away. They're just, and there's no real, the fact that my liver's recovering, I'm very lucky to have a lot of illness in my liver, as it's the organ that can fix itself a lot of the time, but they're just blown away as well. So it's been phenomenal to have all these specialists now questioning us. We have the video conferences with them, and they're like, wow, the results speak for themselves.
I think if we'd gone in at the start and said, here's what we're planning to do, it would have been red flags and warnings from the doctors. But now that they're looking back and seeing the results, you can't argue with it.
No, absolutely. I mean, the proof is literally in the pudding, or the lack of pudding, really. Yeah. It's incredible that all of these specialists just don't know about this. And, thankfully this weekend in South Africa, I'm sure you've seen, is the Old Mutual Health Convention, formerly known as the Low Carb Convention, where, all of the greatest minds in the LCHF community are kind of coming together to talk about this. So hopefully that'll kind of be the catalyst to getting it out into the mainstream, and hopefully kind of GPs and all of the specialists that are out there will start to hear about this, investigate it, look at the evidence and say, hey, maybe we should sort of use this as a starting point for people,
Yes.
in terms of diabetes management, but also in terms of losing weight, which I think is kind of crucial to us, sorting out this health crisis, basically. But the one thing that really kind of takes me aback about your story is that you've almost done this as a family as well, because when you talk to people about losing weight and getting healthier, one of the stumbling blocks that people have is time management, and that's due to having a busy career and a busy family as well. And you two have got both, but you've managed to do it. So what advice would you give to people out there that have kind of got similar situations to yourselves?
Simplicity. A lot of people say preparation, but our lives are very busy, so we don't really have time for high preparation. I say simplicity. There's periods of time where, and people would class us as being on the poverty line. We are on a low income, which we hear a lot from people. We're on a very low income. Low Carb Island we do as our own time. That's not a job for us. Boiled eggs.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we'll get up in the morning now, and we'll sit down to a couple of boiled eggs each with a bit of butter, but spending time as a family as well while we do it. And that's one thing we've noticed. We're watching a lot less television.
We don't watch
We're
TV.
spending a lot more time as a family, and all that's come, not that we're hyper-focused on the food itself, but we're aware of what we're eating, when we're eating, and we're spending time together while we're doing it. I think overall the family life has improved by doing this together.
Even
as
our
well.
6-year-old will say stuff now. It cracks us up because we've done changes for them slowly. It's a lot harder when your children have been raised. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, I get asked the lunchbox question and I have to tell you I have sandwiches in my son's lunchbox too. It's a slow transition for my 6-year-old.
Yeah.
But he's aware. He will make questions now. Like, there was something on the health pyramid or something, and he was homeschooled watching it with me, and he said, "Mum, the bread's not good, is it?"
No, he said it's got carbohydrates.
Yeah, he said it's got,
just
it's got carbohydrates. So a lot of it, I would say, is simplicity. So I do a lot of, say, spinach, avocado. So spinach leaves, avocado, feta cheese. I do a lot of that. The avocado, I get a lot of fat from avocado. I know we're lucky in Australia with getting them. Eggs are another simplicity thing. I always have boiled eggs in the fridge.
Yep.
We have them scrambled, we have them poached. It's so easy to do. And then we don't really complicate things as much as we have a lot of recipes. They're special treats.
Yeah, we might do a bit of a special cook-up on the weekend.
Yeah.
But Monday to Friday, we try and keep it as a no-brainer. I mean, every day I will have a 3-egg omelette with various ingredients, but that's my morning breakfast, and a coffee with cream. And that's just how I start the day. And it's I don't have to think about it. I get up and I do it.
Yeah.
And it makes it simpler when you let it become a bit of a second nature.
It does, and repetitiveness. People, I don't ever get bored. I don't get bored with it. So a lot of people go, "Oh, don't you get sick of it?" And I'm like, when you're eating, when it changes, and it does, it takes time, but when you change your eating to be just something that you do as a social thing or as an enjoyable thing, and it becomes about nurturing your body, and it's a slow process. We still eat for enjoyment, that's those special occasions. You eat just because you go, my brain now will say, you got a long day ahead, Telaine, make sure you have that butter with the eggs, make sure you've got the spinach leaves in it, make sure. It's just a subconscious thought that happens. So simplicity is my key, and stuff like with the financial thing, I always buy my vegetables at the clearance section, and I will do Mexican mince. So, and I freeze that.
Meatloafs, Mexican minces, things like that. If budget's an issue, it's so versatile with whatever's on sale that day.
Yeah,
get it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of being a time press cook rather than a culinary chef, because people think that you have to be flamboyant with all of this, and you're like Pete Evans or something like that, or Jamie Oliver over here, and kind of doing all these fantastical things and stuff like that. But really, kind of when it comes to family busy lifestyles, it's really just like, okay, I'm just going to whack some mince in a frying pan, chuck in some tomatoes and onion maybe, and then what we do, me and my fiance, pretty much almost every night, it's either a spiralized courgette. I don't know if you've seen that, or zucchini for you guys. So the spiralizers to kind of make it into spaghetti. Have that with yeah, just some minced meat along with, you know, a few standard vegetables, tomatoes and onions, it often is. So that's one meal, and then the other meal tends to be something like chicken or lamb along with some cauliflower rice or something like that. You know, and maybe chuck in some curry powder and things like that, herbs and spices, just dead easy. Literally takes 10 minutes. You know, exactly that. Simplicity is what it's all about. There's no big preparation, as you said, and I think that's a really good message that you guys are trying to spread. That it is. It's about the simplicity of it rather than, you know, these big preparation things. And you can do that on the weekend for sure when you're pushing out the boat. You know, but otherwise it's, you know, just keep things simple, make it quick, nutritious, and then, you know, you can spend more time together as a family as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what we found. The simplicity is a big thing for me. If you're starting off this as a weight loss journey and you have what I had, which was just a whole food addiction, the sugar and all the rest of it, it's a battle you've got to win. If it's complex, you're out.
Yeah.
Like if it was complex, if I couldn't have just chucked some eggs in water or just grabbed a bag of spinach leaves and thrown some avocado, like if I had made it complex, my brain would have shut down. Once you start to do it for a while, you start to show a bit more interest. So, you know, I'll make a nut granola or something like that. That before, if I tried all of this stuff at the beginning, my brain would not have been in it.
Yeah. There's hundreds of amazing recipes, but at the start, keep it simple. Find a few things that work for you and just make it second nature until you start to see the results, and you can add things slowly. But one of our other favorite dishes is a real simple one. It's like a crumbless chicken parmigiana. I don't know if that's something you have in London, but basically we just get a chicken breast, cut it in half so it's thinner, whack a little bit of tomato paste or passata or something on it, ham and cheese, and like we don't even grill the chicken first, just chuck that in a 200-degree oven. And it takes literally 10 minutes to feed. You know, we have friends over. That'll take me 10 minutes to prepare 8 of them, chuck them in the oven for half an hour while we go and do other stuff, and then dinner's ready, and it's amazing.
It is, and just cauliflower and broccoli lightly boiled with lots of butter.
Really simple dinner.
Just that's a weekly staple for us.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah, and it is. It's exactly that, trying to find your staple so that you can repeat that again and again and again, and you're going to get results from that. And as long as you're enjoying it, which is kind of a major thing as well, I think. In terms of, you know, you should be enjoying your food. It shouldn't be bland and things like that, but it should be simple for the majority of the time for sure. Now, we do have a couple of questions on the blog. Now, the first one is from Martin, who asks, can you please explain why you suggest avoiding milk when cheese and cream are strongly recommended?
Yeah. Well, for me, this was an interesting one because at first I had the same question, and then it dawned on me that in my pre-low carb days, I used to often make a caramel tart or a banoffee pie with banana on it. But the caramel was simply boiled cans of condensed milk, and it turns into pure sugar. And that made me understand milk does have a high sugar content, and unlike cream and butter and other dairy items that have the high fat, it's not high in fat, but it is high in the sugar. So that's why we avoid that. There's a lot better ways to get the same amount of carbs with a lot more fat at the same time. So and it's also easy to sit down to, you know, say 600 mils of milk, whereas no one's sitting down to 600 mils of double cream.
Oh yeah, you can chug down like half a litre of milk, like no problem.
Easy.
I mean, it's one of the reasons that bodybuilders use it, is because you can drink large amounts of it, and also it does have a high sugar content in terms of the lactose, and that will stimulate your insulin and get all the proteins like into your muscles if you've worked out. If you haven't worked out, all of that's going to be going in your fat cells, so not ideal. And the thing that I always point out is that, you know, the difference between, say, whole milk, semi-skim milk, and skimmed milk isn't all that different. Whole milk is like 4.5% fat. Skim milk is like 3%, 2.5% depending on where you are, and then skim milk is from like 0 to 1%. So it's not all that different. And I don't know why people have made such a hoo-ha about it. The difference is kind of in the milk, and then the cream and cheese as well. So yeah, it's a great answer, guys. Fantastic. Now, the other question is from Jenny Williams, who asks, really love your Facebook page, which is absolutely fantastic. I agree. That's facebook.com/Low Carb Island. And she would like to see you incorporate a servings chart with the carbs in each serving of the foods allowed on your plan. And if you've got one already, please share it. Have you got anything like that planned in the works, or?
Oh, it's a hard thing. It comes back to, I suppose, to trying to keep it simple for me.
Yeah.
It changes. There's days when my plate's all cauliflower and broccoli and a tiny serve of protein, and that's been a lesson I've had to learn. We've never measured.
Yeah.
So I used to have a lot bigger serve of steak, say, and then I realised that it's stabilised because I don't do exercise. So I'd love to, and that's my this year's goal, but I didn't. So that bigger amount of protein, it made my brain work. So I struggle with that. I struggle because I feel like that's going to make it not a journey for someone and just make it a weight loss program. Does that make sense?
With the rule of eat when you're hungry, stop when you're satisfied, everyone is unique there, and it's tricky to sort of put down a set list and say this will work for you. I have done up a weekly plan with breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, but then as a caveat to that, I say if you can eat all that, you're not having enough fat, because you literally, if you're only eating when you're hungry, you can't eat everything I've put on that plan. So it really is more about being aware of, we have things we say, eat lots of these, eat none of these, and a little bit of that. Make yourself aware of that, and then if you do just eat when you're hungry and stop once you're satisfied, I think that's as much of a plan as you need. And then as you sort of, you'll get more in touch with your body, especially as it heals. When I say listen to your body, don't listen to it when it says go have a donut, because that's the sugar addiction talking. But once that starts to heal, your body will become good at telling you what it wants.
It's also, if you're still feeling hungry, my biggest thing is add butter. I can't even eat too much broccoli and cauliflower if I have enough butter. There's times when I'll just have broccoli and cauliflower because that's what I'm craving at the moment. Yeah. I can't even eat a whole bowl because I add the butter to it. Whereas if you just gave me that on its own, I would eat it all. Trying to eat too much fat is near impossible. Yep. You will become physically, you just can't eat it. And coming from someone who could shovel a whole loaf of bread in, that's a testimony. I can't eat too much fat. So I always have a cream sauce, say, with my serve of protein, because then if I want that bigger serve because Derek's got it and I'm greedy. And but then I can never get through it. If I have a cream sauce on it, I'm like, I can't eat it.
Maple Bacon, our dog, gets very spoiled whenever Telaine gets a steak dinner, because she can never get
She always gets my steak.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that's a very lucky dog.
I think that plan works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, she is.
And the one thing there, just on kind of the pet thing, is that over kind of the past 30, 40 years of this kind of misguided path that we've gone down in terms of nutrition, is that a lot of owners, dog owners, have started to, give them crisps and biscuits and cookies and stuff like that, and make it. I mean, there's an obesity epidemic in the dog world and the cat world as well, because and there are some people that put their dogs on vegetarian diets, which is bizarre. Assuming that they're carnivores for a start.
I'm a vet nurse by trade, so the frustration at some of the people bringing their pets in, and we actually had the Biggest Loser Club for pets because it's become such an epidemic. We had a cat in that weighed 21 kilos, this cat got to, and the man just he fed it pizza, he fed it everything, and he would say it refuses to eat its food. It was insane. So, people, I think the animals are a testimony to what we're doing wrong with nutrition.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's absolutely horrendous, isn't it? I mean,
he couldn't move.
Feed them animal products, meat and everything like that. But anyway, apart from that, on the exercise side of things, I don't know if you guys have seen, but on my Facebook page yesterday, we launched our 40 days and 40-second plank length challenge. Have you guys seen that?
I did yesterday. I did. Did you?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'll.
Yeah. If you want to get involved in that, you're more than welcome to. So it's literally just a 40-second plank. every single day for the next 40 days until Lent finishes. And you know, if you feel like you want to go over that, then you know you can go for it. But it's just literally 40-second plank. And for the folks that are listening and watching this, we do have a photo competition with that as well. So if you take a photo of yourself doing the plank, and the best photo at the end will win a signed copy of Slimology, but try and make it in an interesting place. I did mine yesterday kind of with Canary Wharf in the background on the video, and somebody this morning just posted themselves, I think they're a painter decorator, they had one of those, you know, massive masks with kind of the two extractor things at the side there, doing the plank at work, like ready
Awesome.
with the paintbrush and stuff like that. So yeah, people definitely get involved in that. Anyway, thank you so much for your time today, guys. It's been fantastic chatting to you as always. And do you have, apart from, you know, running lowcarb-island.com along with the podcast and things like that, is there anything else that's going to be coming out in the near future?
Book. A book.
Working on a book at the moment.
Yeah.
Along with everything else, and obviously the baby will be coming out in the future, so working on that one at the moment. A few months to go there, so yeah, life is busy at the moment, but it's good.
Yeah, the book is our nearest goal, and I'm doing some public talks, which I'd love to come back home to England to do those, but they'll be in
do you want to
Australia. I'll come. I'm sure I'll reach all of my Ilford people with my healthy eating.
Excellent. Yeah, I hope so. We need it today for sure.
We do over there.
What's the book going to be kind of about? Is it kind of a mixture of your story, what to do, and then recipes and stuff like that?
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone keeps asking. Derek does a lot of recipes, so I'm not a cook. But a lot of people keep asking for the recipes, but everyone keeps asking me for the story. So we're still trying to work out the dynamics of it and get it laid out. We're keeping recipes to the side, and then it's hard writing a personal story because a lot of people with my mental health journey seem to want to know about that, which it sounds easy when you do a blog, but when it comes to writing it in depth, it's a bit more intense. Yeah. So I think at the moment we'll probably focus on the recipe side.
Yeah. But I think our story is definitely something that a lot of everyday people can relate to. There's a lot of voices and experts out there in the low-carb, high-fat world, but you know, just being down-to-earth, younger, sort of a blokey bloke, and
Sheila.
Yeah, so I think getting that story out there to the everyday person is a good thing. But yeah, the recipes would definitely play a big part.
Yeah.
Fantastic, guys. That's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, everybody listening and watching, make sure you go to lowcarbisland.com. You can follow them on all the social media outlets from there, and also highly recommend joining the Low Carb High Fat group on Facebook as well, which you guys started, and I think it's well above 10,000 members now.
Yeah, I think it's a month old.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
it's not old at all.
It's a couple of months old now, and it's well over 10,000.
Yeah,
and the great thing about that thing is that people are there to support you kind of in however you're going to be approaching this. And the whole point is about support and motivation. We're not there to hate on anyone or anything like that. Is that
exactly. Right? Yeah, it's a really supportive group. We try and keep it really simple. It's sort of funny to have to sort of police something, but the whole point was of starting it was to help people keep it simple. It can be overwhelming with information, and most of the people who come there come from our Keep It Simple Sweetheart page. So we have to sometimes, it gets conflicting messages with anything with a big group. So we just keep re-emphasizing and keep going over the Keep It Simple principle to help people who are just starting.
That's it, especially for people who are starting out. We do try and keep it as straightforward as possible and just give them the tools they need to succeed.
Yeah.
Smashing, absolutely smashing. There's only one more thing to do, and that's to hear a smash it out from both Telaine and Derek from Low Carb Island. So on the count of 3, I want you to shout, smash it out to the camera. So 1, 2, 3.
Smash it out!
Way, that's what I'm talking about. Fantastic. Thank you again so much for your time today, guys. It's great.
Thank you so much for having us.
Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. And everybody, go check out lowcarbisland.com. Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, good evening, and I'll speak to you soon.
Very good. Thanks, Sam.
Fantastic.